up, guys? Thanks for watching and tuning into episode 1, where we will be chatting with some of New England's industry insiders. We do have people who are in the know, who've been there, who've done that, and this week we've got Cole Beach. He shoots for Align Media. He's at the races on a weekly basis. Jimmy Decotis, who needs no introduction, and Mike Treadwell, who's been in the sport longer than I've been alive. It is an exciting time of the race season. We've got A1 just around the corner, the most anticipated race of the year. But why? What makes this race so special? What better person to ask than the Ripper, Jimmy D?
So coming up this year, we got A1. I would say personally, to me, is the biggest race of the year. I mean, most of the guys are on new teams, new bikes, new equipment, new gear. It's kind of like that first football game of the season, or you kind of like, all right, I need to prove my worth and show I belong on these teams. This is what basically all the hard work comes down to. I mean, you lay your stamp down, you show, hey, I'm here. I've been training, I've been putting in the work, and there's a reason why X team signed me, or whoever it may be signed this person, because they believe they can compete here at the biggest race of the year.
I mean, think about locally in New England. Everybody spends all winter long like thinking, all right, next year is my year, you know what I mean? And they do the same thing, and they're all hyped up. We get the same kind of deal at Southwick, the first Southwick. Everyone's raring to go and wondering where they're going to fit in the pack and everything like that. And Anaheim's, that's the first round to see where they're at. You know, it's just, and as a fan right now, it's just incredible.
Definitely the buildup of anticipation is without a doubt what makes A1 so special. And we've got Cole Beach's thoughts on this, who is at these races on a weekly basis.
Well, from a sold-out Angel Stadium to just a long off-season of not being under the lights and not seeing all these guys, and you just get all the social media hype of, you know, the riding clips and hearing the stories in the podcast about who's doing well. It's just all these unknowns, and everyone's coming in with different predictions of who's going to do well, and you just have everyone on the edge of their seat wanting, you know, their guy to do the best, and you don't know what's going to happen. Some people could wow you, some people could be a dud, but it's honestly, in my opinion, the coolest race that you can go to in person.
Now, from somebody who's been there, been around the riders, you get to see their energy, like the mindset that they're in. Is it different from, you know, say rounds 4, 5, and 6? It's the clean slate. So at that point, everyone's tied.
Yeah, I would say, like, first thing that comes to mind is in the tunnel for opening ceremonies, when everyone's ready to ride out in front of those fans for the first time under the lights. There's no joking around. It's just like, you could drop a pin and in that tunnel and you would hear it, because the tension, you can just cut it with a knife, and people are just nervous.
It can be overwhelming in times. It really can be. I mean, that's the guys that succeeded, the guys that channel that, and they use that nervousness, those butterfly feelings, and they channel that into focus. When you're down on the floor, dude, waiting for that gate to drop, it's probably one of the coolest feelings that I've ever experienced in life, besides actually going out and performing and succeeding. And then that feeling after is a little bit better. But
let's talk 450 predictions. We already know who's going to win A1. You know, the numbers don't lie. He's got an advantage. He was there last year. For everybody else on the gate, it's been at least 2 years since they raced A1. It's Justin Barcia. Let's look long term. Let's talk championship. I think I know who you're gonna pick, but
you don't.
You gotta pick
one guy.
Though. All right, you gotta pick one guy. Put your money on him. Who is it gonna be and why?
Before I even do this, I feel like I actually made a list on my phone. I feel like I'm disrespecting the other 9 guys before I say a name.
100%.
I mean, realistically, you got Tomac, Roxon, and Coop. Those are like the big 3 that everyone knows that. But I mean, this class is so ridiculously stacked, and everybody says this shit every single year. It's so ridiculously stacked. But it's like this year, there's about 10 guys that can win a race. There's about, I would say, maybe 12 guys that can win a race, and there's about 8 guys that can win a championship. Now, if they all win a race, that's to be whoever's going to be on that night, but it's ridiculous. But I have to put my money on the guy with the 1, and that's Coop, just because.
Oh, shocker.
Because of his mentality and the way that I see him go about it all. If you play the numbers game, he's the Dungy. He's the guy.
I think I would. My heart says Ken Roxon because I just want to see him win bad. Yeah, Roxon! But honestly, if I was putting my own money down, I would have to say Cooper Webb again, just because he's always got a chip on his shoulder, always. And he changed, he left Baker's factory, and I think that now he really wants to prove, hey, this is all me,
Easy pick for me for this year is going to be Cooper Webb. I think he is the strongest rider mentally in the field, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's coming in with a brand new training regimen, being under Michael Byrne as his riding coach, and now leaving the Baker's factory. Everyone wonders, can he do it without Alden? I think he is going to use that to his advantage and want to prove a lot of people wrong.
Let's talk about the 250 class. Have you heard much about who's racing which coast?
So I heard that Joe Shimoda is going to be on the West Coast, Jet's going to be on the West Coast, and Christian Craig's going to be on the West Coast. But the biggest thing is, does the defending champ from last year's West Coast Championship come back and defend it? No one's really said anything. In my eyes, I think it'd be a great marketing technique for Yamaha to put that 1W on a bike and have them out there, and no one said anything. You never really know who's going to be ready to race until the week before. Obviously, as a fan, you want to know and you want to be able to get those predictions in, but you try to look at it from both sides, and I understand it.
The 250 class, one that I really wanted to talk with Jimmy Decotis about.
Yeah.
Teams don't want it to be known which coast their riders are going to be competing on. When you were riding with Geico, was this something that you were facing?
Yeah, it was. And now I've been out of the sport now almost about 2 full years now since I raced Supercross. Okay. So looking at it now as a fan, the East West and not knowing who's racing what coast drives me insane. It is the dumbest thing in the world. Like, I want to know who's racing West Coast. If I'm a Northeast guy and I know someone's racing West that I like, I want to go out there and watch them at A1. Like, I don't want to fly out there and then, they're not racing. They're like, what do you mean they're not racing? It drives me nuts as a fan. But when you're a racer and you're fully involved in the sport, you don't even care. It doesn't even faze you. You're like, East, West, whatever. I'm ready. When they send me, they'll send me. So you're like, as a racer, you're like, I don't care at all. If I go West, that means I'm ready, clearly, because they picked me to go West. And if I go East, that means I'm not ready. And they're giving me more time, which is another positive. Most of the guys know anyways, deep down. Most of them.
That's what I was just going to ask you. So you hear riders say all the time that they don't know. Were you having to say that you didn't know, or did you always know? Like,
always knew. There was like, it'd be like December 1st, and it's like, if everything goes good, you're doing West. So you're doing West.
Yeah.
Unless you get hurt.
Yeah. So I have always wondered when riders say that they don't know which coast they're racing, like how much truth there is to that. And it sounds like from what Jimmy's saying here that they do know. They unofficially know. But let's switch gears here. Mike Treadwell. So you've been a part of the sport and around for, I'm not sure how long, 40 years. Okay. I was going to say probably longer than I've been alive, but I didn't want to assume.
Yeah.
But so how often do we see a Northeastern lining up on an A1 gate?
Unfortunately, not very often at all. Back in the day, I never lined up for A1. I was always East Coast only. I would always ride both classes on the East Coast. But back in the day, it used to be easier. Like the first time I was ever on a Supercross track was at a Supercross race. And when Dowdy and Henry got their factory rides, they were the ones. But JoJo Keller before that. I'm probably missing some guys, but I don't know many people that ever from New England that have lined up. Not a lot of guys.
I kind of feel like I took for granted when Jimmy was lining up, like how much more excitement that brought to a Saturday night, like having somebody to really pull for.
Yeah, absolutely. It was super exciting. Even when Robbie Marshall was so young and, he was trying to do Supercrosses and he went in unprepared and got hurt. You know what I mean? Like and Robbie had a lot of talent. So I think he could have done well had he had access to some tracks and all those things, you know what I mean? And, but yeah, those were exciting times when especially Jimmy, because he had an opportunity on any given night to podium, and you were like, hey, there's an outside shot. He's got a chance to win tonight. You know what I mean? He gets a start and throws a few heater laps down. Like there was always that excitement because he could do it, So that was being from New England. That was always exciting. Always exciting.
Yeah, that was exciting. He was definitely carrying the torch for a few years representing New England, which is why I wanted to ask Jimmy if there was one year that really stands out to him as, an A1 he'll never forget.
But there was the first year I came back from Australia when I won the championship in 15. So it was 16. And I came into Geico and it was a new bike, totally new chassis. Everything was different than what I was riding in Australia. And it was my first time back on a factory team since 2011 when I tore my ACL. So everything was new and fresh. And they really, really wanted me to do West because I was the fifth man on the team. RJ got hurt that year. They really wanted a presence on the West Coast more. They wanted to have 3 guys on that coast. And I was not ready. I kept telling them, I'm not ready. I'm not used to the bike. I'm not ready. So coming in, I was just so uncomfortable. And then I ended up going out, qualifying like 8th, and ended up getting a 4th in the main. And it was one of my best rides of the season. I was the best guy on the team that night. And it was just kind of like, wow, if I just keep my head down, do the work, and just stick with the program, it actually worked out. And that was one of those rewarding moments for me because I went out there and totally surprised myself and ran up front a lot of the moto and actually was pretty close to Osborne for 3rd for a while. So I was like, all right, that was a good A1 memory for me. And I felt like it was a good step for me to get my ball rolling on a factory bike again and show them hey, I can compete up here. I'm ready to go.
Well, cool. Thanks for sharing that, Jimmy. And thank you guys for watching. If you got any feedback, comments, advice, this will be something that we may try to do in the future weeks as we progress through the Supercross season. So keep tuning in. Let us know what you think. Cheers.